All right, let's dive right in. And today we're tackling Cactus Ransomware.
Oh, this is a nasty one.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, right? It's been kind of under the radar since about March 2023, targeting those big companies,
Yeah, and it's interesting how they can kind of slip past, your average security setup.
Yeah, that's what makes it so tricky, right?
Yeah, one of the things that's really concerning about Cactus is the way it uses encryption.
Yeah.
It uses this unique method
Uh-huh.
that relies on a key that's hidden inside a file called ntuser.dat.
Interesting.
Most antivirus software isn't really looking for that.
So it just sneaks right by.
It slides right under the radar.
Right. It's like having a secret key
Yeah.
to get into your house, and you wouldn't even know it was there
Exactly.
until it was too late.
And once they're in, they've got a whole toolkit.
Oh, yeah.
They've got custom stuff. They've got legitimate tools.
Right.
We're talking about things like Chisel for
Right.
setting up these, these covert communication channels. Yeah.
Rclone for siphoning off data.
Right.
They even exploit weaknesses in VPNs.
Really? So you think you've got this secure tunnel.
You think you're safe, and then they pop right in. They find a way in, yeah.
So let's paint a picture here. You're a big company. You think you've got it all locked down.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cactus just kind of,
They're and they're poking around.
What happens next?
Well, unlike some of the other ransomware groups, they don't just go in and start encrypting everything.
Oh, really?
They take a more, I guess you could say, methodical approach.
Uh-huh.
Like they're casing the joint.
They're planning it out?
They're doing their homework, yeah.
Oh.
They use tools like Soft Perfect Network Scanner to map out all the devices on the network.
So they're seeing everything that's connected.
They're getting the lay of the land.
Right.
And they'll use PowerShell commands to figure out, who has access to what.
Okay, so they're building up like the blueprint of the whole network. Exactly. They're identifying the weak points.
Finding the good stuff.
Finding the crown jewels, yeah.
Right.
And it's not just about, servers and databases.
Oh, yeah.
They're interested in user accounts, too.
Uh-huh.
They'll analyze Windows security events to see who's logging in, when, and where.
Oh, interesting.
And they'll even use ping commands just to check which systems are reachable.
It's less of a smash and grab, more of a planned heist.
That's a great way to put it.
Really is.
Yeah.
So, all right, they've got their blueprint.
Mhm.
They're starting to understand how things work.
Yeah.
Now they're ready to deploy their toolkit, right?
Exactly.
And that's where things get really interesting.
This is where it gets tricky.
Because they're using, some legitimate tools
Yeah.
like Splashtop, AnyDesk, things that IT departments use, but then also, more malicious tools like Chisel.
Right. They're blending in.
So it's like hiding in plain sight almost.
It's a clever tactic.
Yeah. And, it makes you think about how we here at Stonefly ensure that the tools we provide remain secure, right?
Absolutely. Security is paramount for us.
Yeah.
We're constantly working to make sure our appliances are hardened against this kind of attack.
Right. So it's something we take very seriously.
Absolutely. You can find out more about all of our security measures at stonefly.com.
Perfect.
But getting back to Cactus,
Yeah.
they also have this script that actually uninstalls antivirus software.
So they're disabling the alarm.
It's like disarming the security system before breaking in.
Not bold.
It is, but it's effective.
So they've mapped the network. They've disabled the alarms. They're blending in with legitimate tools.
Right.
What's the next phase?
Well, the next step is escalation.
Okay.
They'll try to steal credentials from web browsers.
Oh, so save passwords and things like that.
Exactly. Autofill data, anything they can get their hands on.
Right.
And they use this really clever batch script to create a new admin account on the system.
Oh, so they're making their own back door.
They're creating a way back in, yeah.
Wow.
They'll activate the account, add it to the administrators group, and even configure the system to automatically log on with this new account.
So even if you change your passwords, they've still got a way in.
It's a persistent threat.
This is scary stuff.
It is, and it really underscores the need for layered security.
Right, which is something we really prioritize at Stonefly.
Absolutely.
Our appliances are designed with multiple layers of defense in mind.
We go beyond basic antivirus and firewalls.
Yeah.
Advanced intrusion detection systems, robust authentication protocols, data encryption, the whole 9 yards.
So even if they manage to get in, we make it really hard for them to get anywhere.
We make them work for it, and hopefully we can detect them before they do any real damage.
Right.
You can learn more about all of that, of course, at stonefly.com.
All right, so they're in, they've got admin access. They're basically invisible at this point.
They're ghosts in the machine.
So what do they do with all this power?
Well, that's where lateral movement comes in. They start spreading to other systems within the network.
They're expanding their reach.
Exactly. And they've got a couple of ways to do this.
Okay.
They can use the stolen or created accounts, which we've already talked about, or they can exploit the remote desktop protocol, RDP.
Oh, RDP. That's like a direct connection between computers, right?
It is, and it's incredibly useful for remote management.
But also very dangerous in the wrong hands.
It's a powerful tool for both good and bad.
Yeah.
And Cactus knows how to exploit it.
So they're using our conveniences against us.
Essentially, yes.
Wow.
It's all about stealth and efficiency.
This is getting really unsettling.
It is, but before we get into the damage they can do,
Right.
let's take a closer look at how they pull off this lateral movement.
Yeah, let's unpack that.
It's fascinating in a scary sort of way.
All right, well, we'll get into that in part 2 of this deep dive.
Sounds good.
See you back here in just a bit. And for more information about how Stonefly can help you stay ahead of these threats, you can always visit us at stonefly.com.
Absolutely.
So we're back. And last we left off, Cactus Ransomware was kind of like...
They were setting up shop, getting ready to spread.
Yeah, they were poised for that big move.
Right, and this is where their understanding of IT tools really comes into play.
Right. They're not just hackers. They know how these systems work.
They know the ins and outs, and they use it to their advantage.
So like those remote management tools we talked about.
Like super ops, for example.
Yeah, the things IT departments use every day.
Right, to keep things running smoothly.
And Cactus uses those to move laterally.
Exactly. They blend right in, hopping from system to system.
So they're making their malicious activity look like normal IT work.
Precisely. They become ghosts in the machine.
Wow. That's pretty slick.
It is. And with each jump, they gain more control.
More access to data, more leverage.
Right. They're building their position of power.
And ultimately, that leads to the ransomware deployment.
Right. But before we get to that,
yeah, there's the data exfiltration.
they steal information before they encrypt.
Right. How do they manage that?
Well, again, they use legitimate tools.
Okay.
This time, it's a program called rclone.
rclone, what's that usually used for?
It's often used for cloud backups and file synchronization.
So they're taking a tool designed to protect data.
Right.
And they're using it to steal data.
They turn it into a weapon.
So they're scooping up financial records, customer data, all of it.
Anything valuable they can get their hands on.
And sending it off to some secret server in the cloud.
Exactly, all before anyone even realizes what's happening.
That's a whole other level of scary.
It is, and it's a key differentiator with Cactus.
Right, they're not just disrupting operations.
They're stealing valuable information.
Which they can then use for further extortion.
Or sell it on the dark web. Who knows?
It's a whole different game now.
Ransomware has evolved. It's not just about locking up files anymore.
Right, it's about stealing information, undermining trust.
And inflicting maximum damage.
This is where a good security strategy is so important.
Absolutely. It's not just about preventing the initial breach.
Right. You need to be able to detect and respond to suspicious activity.
Limit lateral movement. Protect your data at every stage.
And this is where Stonefly comes in.
Stonefly appliances are designed with layered security in mind.
Right. We go beyond the basic antivirus and firewalls.
We offer advanced intrusion detection systems, real-time threat monitoring, robust data encryption, both at rest and in transit.
So even if an attacker does get in,
our systems are designed to contain the threat.
Protect the data, give you time to respond.
Exactly. And speaking of response, one of the key features we offer is immutable snapshots.
Immutable snapshots, what are those?
They provide a secure, tamper-proof record of your data.
Okay.
So even if your primary data is compromised,
you can revert back to a clean snapshot.
Exactly, minimizing downtime and data loss.
That's like having a rewind button for your data.
That's a great way to put it.
It's like undoing the damage.
And it's just one example of how we're proactively addressing the ransomware threat.
Right. We believe in a multifaceted approach.
Advanced technology, user education, best practices.
So we've seen how Cactus gets in, how it spreads, how it steals data. Now comes the moment of truth.
The ransomware deployment?
The attack itself.
This is where things get messy.
So what happens? They just start encrypting everything.
It's not quite that simple. They use a combination of scripts, things like totalexec.ps1 and psexec.
And these spread the encryptor.
Right, across multiple devices simultaneously.
So it's like a wildfire.
Spreading through the network, locking down files.
Disrupting operations, causing chaos.
It can be devastating.
And the encryption itself.
They use AES and RSA encryption.
Those are pretty strong algorithms.
They're practically unbreakable without the key.
And the key is with the attackers.
Of course, that's how they hold you hostage.
Right, and they leave a ransom note.
They do, with instructions on how to pay.
And how to get the key.
Right. It's a high-pressure situation.
Imagine a hospital losing access to patient records.
Or a bank locked out of its financial system.
The stakes are incredibly high.
And the pressure to pay can be immense.
This is serious stuff.
It is, but before we talk about mitigation strategies,
Okay.
you mentioned something earlier about the MIR, ATT, and CK framework.
Right. Can you explain that a bit more?
Sure. It's essentially a knowledge base of adversary tactics and techniques.
Like a playbook for cybercriminals.
Exactly. It catalogs all the nasty tricks they use.
And Cactus aligns with this framework.
They do, which shows a deep understanding of how to exploit vulnerabilities.
So by studying this framework, we can better understand how to defend against them.
Right. It's about knowing your enemy,
Anticipating their moves.
building your defenses accordingly.
Okay, so let's talk about those defenses, shall we? Okay, so we spend a lot of time understanding how Cactus works, how they get in, how they spread. But now let's talk about how to actually stop them.
Right. How do we fight back?
Exactly. What are the best ways to protect ourselves from this kind of threat?
Well, it's kind of like a chess game, right?
I like that.
You got to think a few steps ahead.
Right. Anticipate their moves.
Develop a strong defense.
So what are our first moves in this cybersecurity chess game?
Well, first and foremost, patching.
Always patching, right?
Especially your VPN devices, any appliances you have.
Right. Those are the entry points.
Cactus loves to exploit known vulnerabilities.
So we got to shut those doors.
Slam them shut, yeah.
It's like reinforcing the weak points in your defenses.
Exactly.
Okay. What else? What else can we do?
Strong password practices.
Oh, that's a given. Right.
It is, but it's amazing how many people still use weak passwords.
Right. Or the same password for everything.
Exactly.
Okay. So complex passwords, passphrases, change them regularly.
And don't reuse them across multiple accounts.
It's basic, but so important. Okay, so we've patched our systems. We've got strong passwords. What's next?
Well, because Cactus relies so heavily on PowerShell.
Yeah, we saw how they use that for all sorts of things.
Right, so monitoring and logging all PowerShell activity is crucial.
Okay, so we can see what's happening.
So you can spot those suspicious commands, potentially catch the attack early.
It's like having eyes everywhere.
Exactly.
All right, so we're monitoring PowerShell.
Mm-hmm.
What else can we do to be proactive?
Regular audits of user accounts.
Oh, yeah, makes sense.
Especially those with higher levels of access.
The admins, the super users.
Right. The principle of least privilege is key here.
Only give people access to what they absolutely need.
Don't hand out the master keys unless it's absolutely necessary.
Right. Limits the damage they can do.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about preparation.
Right. Those are the things you do to prevent an attack.
But what if it happens anyway?
Well, then you need mitigation strategies.
Okay, so this is about damage control.
Minimizing the impact, yeah.
All right, so what do we do?
First and foremost, multi-factor authentication.
MFA. Yeah, we hear about that all the time.
It's essential.
Adds that extra layer of security.
Even if they steal your credentials, they still need that second factor.
Right, like that code from your phone or something.
Exactly.
Okay, MFA's on the list. What else?
Robust backups.
Ooh, backups. That's a big one.
It is. You need multiple backups.
Like, so not just one.
Nope. You need redundancy.
Okay, what kind of backups are we talking about?
Well, air-gapped backups are important.
Air-gapped. So that means physically isolated.
Right. Not connected to the network.
So even if the network is compromised, those backups are safe.
Exactly.
Okay, air-gapped.
An immutable backup.
Immutable, so they can't be changed.
Can't be modified, can't be deleted.
So even if an attacker gets in, they can't mess with the backups.
Precisely.
That's pretty smart.
It's essential for ransomware protection.
Okay, so backups, air-gapped, and immutable.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on the mitigation side?
User education.
Oh, that's right. People are the weakest link sometimes.
They can be, but they can also be your strongest asset.
Right, if they know what to look for.
Exactly. Regular security awareness training.
Teach them about phishing scams, social engineering.
How to spot suspicious emails, websites.
So they don't accidentally open that door for the attackers.
Exactly.
Okay, user education is key.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Last but not least, incident response plan.
Oh, yeah. If something happens, we need to know what to do.
Absolutely. This is your playbook for dealing with an attack.
So it outlines the steps for containment, data recovery, all of that.
Right. Regularly test and update your plan.
Make sure everyone knows what to do.
It's like a fire drill for cyber attacks.
I like that. Yeah, so you don't panic when the alarm goes off.
Exactly. And if you need help developing your incident response plan,
Yeah,
Stonefly offers professional services to help with that.
of course we do.
You can reach us at sales@stonefly.com. And you can also find more information about all of our security solutions at stonefly.com.
All right, well, this has been a really, really informative deep dive.
It has.
We've learned a lot about Cactus Ransomware,
Mm-hmm.
how they operate, how to defend against them.
And how important proactive security is.
It's not optional anymore?
Nope. It's essential for survival.
So I think the key takeaway here is
Yeah.
knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
The more we understand these threats,
Mm-hmm.
the better prepared we are to fight them.
And the safer we'll be.
So stay curious, stay informed, and stay ahead of the game.
That's the best advice I can give.
All right, well, on that note, I think we'll wrap things up.
Sounds good.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Cactus Ransomware.
It's been a pleasure.
And we'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of cyber threats.
Stay safe out there.